mess us all up. There we go. Yes.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show.
Not quite yet.
Okay.
I got to figure out how to get it. Oh, shoot. Where the hell is it? Okay, Studio B Temp. Okay. I was typing in the wrong name. As soon as this answers, you're on air.
Okay. Let me know.
There you go. You are on the air.
Thank you, Thomas, for being our producer this evening. Hello and welcome, everyone. This is your Cosmic Oracle coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. And it's been quite a day here today with the fire and with some PG&E outage. Oh, and I get a little sound back there. Let's see if I can turn that down a little. There we go. And a lot going on here. And well, I can't tell if I'm out of credit. Can you just call me? Oh, can you call? Okay. We're working out some technical things here with all the things that are going on. So hang on.
Type this number into the Skype chat. I can call.
Okay, I will do. Let me type that in right now. Oh, share screen. Where do I put that, Thomas? Just a second, everybody. Here we go. Skype. All right. His number. So we let the whole world know his number, right? Okay.
That's why I was saying type it in there. So
yeah, I'm trying to.
Or telephone number.
Yeah, I have his. Let me see. He has. Just a second. Let me go to another Skype screen, I think, to find it. Okay. So just a second. There it is. Because I don't. Let me. There. Okay. Let me find the number. Let me ask him what his number is. Okay. What is. Thanks everybody for tuning in. What is your number? Oh my God. All right. And he'll type it right back and then we'll be on. So this is just kind of the build up for the show, people. Okay. All of our listeners, hang in there. This account, okay. Where is the number though for it? It doesn't show it.
If you go to his profile, it'll show you his number. You scroll down, it'll give you.
It will. Okay, let me look.
Got it written in there.
There's his picture. So hit the little. Oops, not the green thing. Okay, so send message, start call, share contact. Would that do it?
Well, you already did.
I already did that. Yeah. So.
But you're on his profile, right?
Yeah, it says profile.
You keep scrolling down, and it should say phone number. If he's got it listed there, it'll be right there.
Okay. Add to favorites. Profile, Skype name. I have the name, the location. But it doesn't have an actual phone number. Copy.
Then he never added it.
So he doesn't have a Skype number.
Yeah. Well, you can add any number there you want. It's how you fill out your profile.
Okay. Okay, so he could add just a regular phone number, his phone number, not a Skype number, or?
Yeah, he could put any number there.
Okay, I hope he's listening to this.
You don't have to put it there. You can just get him to send it to you, and then you send it to me. Okay,
just send me any phone number, right?
Yes, ma'am. It don't matter.
I will. Will get it to Thomas.
We just don't want the FBI's number.
Right. We don't. There we go. And it doesn't have to be Skype.
No, it could be any phone or cell.
It's a good thing I type 80 words a minute. Here it goes. I think we're almost there. We're almost home run, home base.
We need a drum roll.
I thought we were doing this on Skype. Oh, he doesn't have a phone. Oh, that's a
Well,
problem.
then he'll have to figure out how to unblock me. I mean,
Yeah,
you how to do it.
yeah.
I told you to do it.
Okay, so we're gonna walk him through. We will walk you through how to unblock your Skype phone. Okay, so
Tell him to go to settings.
okay, so here we go. So I'll go number 1. Go to settings. There we go. Okay, number 2.
Go to contacts.
Go to, it's a good thing I was a preschool teacher for a long time. You think simple, right? Okay, number 3.
It says at the top of the page, it says block contacts. And there's a little arrow on the right-hand side. You click it.
Okay, at the top of the page, there is a little arrow. And click it.
Yeah, but it's got to be where it says block contacts.
Where it says block contacts. Okay, that's number 3.
That'll bring up a list of your contacts that you have blocked, and right there next to my name should say unblock, and all I have to do is unblock.
Will bring up a list of blocked. I hope everyone's finding this entertaining. Hang in there; it'll be worth it.
Most people don't know how Skype works.
This will bring up a list of blocked contacts.
Give you a lot of stress if you don't understand it.
Yeah, and number 5, unblock, right? Unblock, unblock, and it's under a Mad Painter.
A Mad Painter.
Oh, he says he doesn't have a blocked contact.
Well, then he should be able to add me.
How does he add you then?
Let me see if I can get him now.
Okay, all right.
Oh, shoot.
Thomas is. Oh, he unblocked you already. Okay.
Oh, well, he didn't tell us.
He didn't, but we know now. So Thomas is going to call you and add you to the call, right? Call you and
I'm calling him right now.
Add you now.
He joined us.
All right. Did he? We got it going?
Yeah, it seems like it, huh?
Oh my God, that was awesome. Well, thank you so much, Thomas. And thank you so much, SunBow, for being here and being on the show today. It's things are down at the station from what I understand, right, Thomas? Maybe he's off now, but we do have you, SunBow. You're here live. We're on the air, and we're also live on Facebook as well. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for hanging in there. That was kind of a wild beginning.
Yeah, technical issues,
Yeah.
delays and stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's funny though, because neither one of us went into fear, and we just kind of started working it, right?
Yeah, we got around. We're a little late on schedule, but that's all right.
Yeah, but it shows how people can work together, right? I think that's part of the new way, in a way, is it's learning how to work together, and we just created. I've never done it this way in a while, so this is good.
All right. So we're on air now. Are we recording?
Yes, we are on the air. We are only recording on Facebook because we aren't able to record on Revolution Radio this evening, but we are live on Revolution Radio, so we're good to go.
Okay.
All right. So I do want to thank you, SunBow, for being here this evening, and for all of our listeners there who are really excited about having you here. We have so much to talk about. Let's see. First, let me do this. I want to introduce you the way that you should be introduced, because you're a special guest, and you spent so much time in your life working towards where you are at this time, and it's where you dedicated time and effort in going out and studying the depths and aspects of this phenomena of the hairy humanoids from the wild, and the lore, their historic reports, you went into the mystical, the psychic, the paranormal, all of it. And I love the way that you came about it, because throughout your book, I want everyone to see your book cover here on Facebook. It's called The Hairy Humanoids from the Wild. And it's an encyclopedia of all things Sasquatch and disclosure of interspecies communication. So, and it's written by SunBow, true brother, author of the Sasquatch Message to Humanity. And we did have you on the Cosmic Oracle show, I think a couple years ago, maybe a year or two ago, where you did talk about your book, The Sasquatch Message to Humanity. It was very well received. And I was able to spend some time with you at the Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat, and with Kelly and Kiowani Lapsaritis. And it's just been quite a little whirlwind since then, because things change when a whole group of people get together and get focused and open up and open their minds, right, and their hearts to let the Sasquatch be a part of their world, and opening up the doorways to interspecies communication. So I have a whole thing for you, and I can't get to any of it because of the technical things. So I don't normally do this, SunBow, but could you introduce yourself? Could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got where you are today in being an ambassador for the Sasquatch community, or maybe it should be the Sasquatch clan or the Sasquatch species? I'm not sure how you would, what's the proper protocol for that?
Well, I would say Sasquatch people, because they are people like we are. Most witnesses will say that actually that they look more human than anything else. Mm. Well, about my background, it's a long story. I got started writing my bio about 12 plus years ago. I got 60 chapters down, and I'm not halfway. So I'll have to skip some episodes, I guess, or anecdotes. But to stay around the topic we're going to speak about today, let's say, well, I came and interested into Sasquatch and paranormal and star beings and hidden archaeology early in my teenage, I guess, or late childhood, and that started some quest in looking outside of the box of the education I was provided with.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, from there, I mean, I started traveling before I turned 17, and starting going out in nature, spending time with nature, and learning from nature, from the animals, but also from the spirits, because I was instructed to do a vision quest and to connect with my my spirit guide. So that happened. My first time was in 81, October 13, actually, 81, when I was in by Chehalis on the Fraser River, the place where the name Sasquatch originates from. And that night there was about 10 young guys who came out in the woods and out of the city, basically, to have a wild adventure, but we didn't expect how wild it would get, because that night we heard we built a big lean-to, and we cut We stripped basically there are a couple cedars there to do a roof. So around I don't know, around 3 in the morning or something, we heard a footfall coming our way, and we had this experience we all described in similar terms, that we heard someone talking to us in our head or in our dreams, others said, that told us we shouldn't have stripped those trees, and we lacked respect to the land. So the post holding our roof was snapped like a twig, and we woke up in the middle of the night with the roof in our face, and rain pouring and dark. So we were trying to figure out what's going on. And one of us had stayed in his little tent next to our camp. So he came up all freaked out. He said we wouldn't believe him, but he saw a tall, hairy monster, as he said, come and put down our camp and turn into a ghost. So we didn't believe him, but we tried to figure out what happened that night, and there was no real rational explanation other than that. As a coincidence, that's where I was going to do my first vision quest, and within the following week, I took my first vision quest and had my first encounter with my spirit guide, my first spirit guide. So from there, it was the beginning of a long journey on the shamanic path, where I needed teaching, I needed explanations of what's out there, what's going on. So I went naturally. I was guided or attracted by the native teachings, because those people or those shamanic cultures have had a long history and knowledge of the spirit world, which our modern society have very much lost. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much how I started. Almost
So you started out naive, young, didn't know anything, and without a lot of respect. And boy, have you come a long way, right?
Oh yeah. Well, as maybe a parenthesis here, I can say is I returned to that same site 38 years later, which was this June. The first time in 38 years, I went back there with a brother, actually, with a friend. And we had a super fantastic surprise, because first of all, the beams of the camp we had built 38 years ago are still there. And right in front, the Sasquatch had built a beautiful structure, very artistic, like some kind of a tent-like form with green balls woven into it. So it was to show us it was fresh. It was made basically for us.
Oh, that must have made you like, oh, how's that for a welcome home, right?
Oh, definitely. It was a great start. But that night we had a group encounter. There was our whole clan came around us. So at some point we could see 15 of them. They talked with us. The spaceship flew right above us. It's a very long story. I won't probably detail right now. But it was an amazing confirmation. And the elder who actually put down our camp in our face 38 years ago, he was there, and he said he doesn't apologize because we had to learn, but he's glad that I have learned something since.
So it came full circle.
Yeah, that was a very good conclusion to this very strange first encounter I had.
Wow. So much. And he must have been very proud of you and what you've accomplished over those years.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, definitely, because I mean that were those experiences were pretty much a trigger to my shamanic path.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went through several um, tribes, uh, dozens of tribes that I met or visited, and met many elders and medicine people that taught me that some wonderful, very fantastic, great elders that we can call wisdom keepers and prophecy keepers that I had the blessing to meet pretty young in my life. And that gave me guidelines
Mm-hmm.
as to what we are here for as humans, what's our purpose, and what's the best thing we can become.
Mm-hmm. And have them, the Sasquatch, as our guides, our teachers, our brothers, our star family, or how would you put that?
Well, over the years, I had various sporadic encounters. I remember 83. I describe these in my book, so I won't go too much in detail. But in 83, in the Petrified Forest in April, just before going to Hopi Land for my first time, a Sasquatch came out and sat about 100 feet from me, and he animated images of the time where these people were walking with the dinosaurs. And to me at that time, because he was a little bit like translucent, like a hologram,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if it was a spirit or a vision. I didn't know about their interdimensional abilities back then, so I interpreted that as a spirit vision from the spirit world because I had other similar experiences.
Yeah.
And then in 86 in Trinity County, Northern California, I was in a very remote community, and Sasquatch came and stole in the garden. And one dog that we had never heard at all started barking like mad and crazy, and I could hear the Sasquatch run across the canyon. And then he stopped and turned around, and he released that legendary blood-curdling scream. It freezes the whole forest that is followed by silence, including the dog was silent right then. So then I knew, well, yeah, there are physical too, because we hear them scream and run, and they steal food, so they have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
But it went on and on for years. Several anecdotes, I cannot tell them all. In the Algonquin Park, there's in Ontario, it's one of the largest provincial parks in Canada. There's well, I went there several years in all 4 seasons, so there was a few experiences there. We found structures. My friend had an encounter, and another time we could hear footsteps that were being thrown pine cones at our feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already back in, that was like 92, and I was already saying, well, that must be a Sasquatch. But I couldn't, wrap my mind around the whole phenomenon. Well, interdimensional, they can manifest.
Mm-hmm.
It went on again for more years. Another important event was my first physical sighting with a friend on Vancouver Island, on the southwest side of Vancouver Island. We were coming back from gathering, doing ceremonies with native elders there. It was the day after a historic storm, so it was super huge rainfall and wind the day before, with fallen trees and all that. So we were driving back in the woods in the rainforest there, and we turned the curve, and there was a Sasquatch standing in the road, the forest road there. And again, it's could be long to describe these 30 seconds, but we were frozen, like hypnotized. The dog that was with us went crazy, like totally afraid, and we couldn't react for like about a minute. We were like totally like stunned. And when we passed the place, we saw him go in the woods. I told to my friend, oh, let's stop. He said, no. So we just kept going. But with that specific friend, we had a couple more encounters since. So it takes time to get used to those things and to be willing to go for it. Mm-hmm. So the big trigger, I will go fast forward in time in 2014, when I went back finally, actually for the first time in this life, I went to northern Saskatchewan, where my grandfather was born and where my Cree ancestors come from. And because of, the native lineages are not very often well recorded or in records. So we had this oral tradition in the family that, okay, we have some Cree ancestors, but we don't know where from and everything. Nobody ever found out. And I went there, and I knew since childhood that the day I would go there, something big would happen. So I found a place where my grandfather was born. My great grandparents lived, and she was a Cree Indian, and I found the grave of her father, my great grandfather, within a couple of days, and so I connected with my Cree cousins, and including the family historian, and I told her about that story I had read in the old Gazette, that my great-great-grandfather and his twin brother, when they were around 8 years old, they were found in the wilderness of the Northwest Territories by some Cree trappers. They were living in a hut of branches, wearing raw hides. They were eating bugs and roots, and they didn't speak any human language.
And this was your great-great-grandfather's?
Yeah. So I asked my cousin, Cree cousin, who's the family historian, and she said, well, we have Sasquatch in the family.
What did you do when she told you that? Did you just like go, how did that, I just,
Well, that cognitive dissonance is like, I didn't quite
get it.
get it right away. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, I have seen one before, and so she said, "Oh yeah." But it took me, like a little while. I'm still thinking about it actually.
Wow.
Okay, I'm part Sasquatch. So
that's huge. Okay, I just wanted. I don't know anyone that can say that. Have you met anyone else that can say that besides your brother?
Well,
you have a brother, or?
Well, my sibling. Dana. But there is this is a very not rare that there are stories among tribes, especially in the north and northwest, that there are people who are Sasquatch hybrids. Mm-hmm. There are still people who are known as being the first generation hybrid or second generation, and many chiefs claim Sasquatch in their lineage, and they're proud of it. So that was a trigger for me to say, okay, wow, well, it's more than just, there's something out there that they're closely related, and I'm part of them, and so I want to know who they are.
Right.
And when I started wanting to meet them, doing research and a lot of research, and most valid information I found back then was coming from native tradition, because they have interacted with them for generations, while a lot of the modern research or mainstream Bigfoot thing is totally of speculation and theories and people who have no experience and they don't know what they're talking about.
Right, right. And a cover up, right? When I read your book, I just was astounded. I just didn't put it together, and I had this big aha moment, you know, because I know that's true with UFO and ET and all of that, but I never thought the same with the Sasquatch as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's been, you just read my last book. You've seen there's been I did a random sampling of reports that have been, at least since 3,000 years of written history, we have written reports and research about hairy humanoids that we call Sasquatch here, but they have different names elsewhere. And there's been also as long history of hunts and captures, and some of them being killed.
Yes, it was just mind-boggling to see how much, I mean, all the facts and figures you have and all the stories, story after story of the big hunt and the breakdown of the making of Sasquatchery, you know, the great hunting expeditions. And I was just kind of creeped out at the same time, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we've been lied to, and we've been there's all monster craze and made up stories and everything. And when you look, like, if you've seen it, like you've seen in my book, many of those horror movies are based on a simple incident among hundreds of peaceful contacts. There's some that are pure fictions, and they go around like hot buns, you know. And because that's part of some powers that don't want us to remember that we're not the only intelligent, sentient species.
Wait, you got to say that again, because I think that's important. We're not it, right? And who's ever trying, go for that.
Yeah, well, we're not the top of the evolutionary chain. We're not either the crown of creation, let's say, if we take a religious approach. We're just a link in the chain, and we're part of a long lineage. We have many relatives, ancestors, cousins, elder brothers, like the Sasquatch, who also carry intelligence and consciousness, and sometimes to a level higher than we have reached in general as humans. So it is all to our advantage to learn to admit that we're not the smartest, we're not the most ancient, we don't have the monopoly of intelligence or spiritual consciousness, and we have a lot to learn from other species.
Yeah, I loved your answer when people would ask in your book, why haven't we found a Sasquatch body? It's all about the body, and you went into that at great length of why. And so, can you talk a little bit about that with our listeners this evening?
Yeah. Well, there is plenty of documented evidence that there's been since 3,000 years hairy humanoids that were captured, killed. What happened with the bodies, it's most usually a mystery. A few reports say the body was shipped to this university or that doctor and everything, and we never hear about it again. There's also plenty of DNA. There's been, since 40, 50 years, there's been DNA testing on all kind of sample, blood sample, hair, bone, teeth, skin, everything. There's been, we can say also, where are all the giants that were found in the 200,000 mounds of North America, of which
Right.
only 3,500 are left.
Yeah.
That means they were all plundered. 200,000 mounds. The Smithsonian just admitted recently, at the demand of the Freedom of Information Act from the Congress, that they have indeed destroyed thousands and tens of thousands of skeletons.
Mm.
And according to many reports, there was 18,000 of them that were giants. So people say, where are the evidence? Go ask the ones who are systematically involved into destroying them or covering them up. Because each time they come with a significant discovery about Sasquatch DNA. We can just mention this year, National Geographic did test some Yeti air found in the Himalaya that tested 99% human. That's just the latest of a very long series. We can mention it's worth mentioning the Sasquatch Genome Project led by Dr. Melba Ketchum for 5 years that studied over 100 simple Sasquatch DNA that came with a fantastic discoveries and conclusion that they are 99% the same DNA than us, but they have something else that we don't find anywhere. And so all this, people say, oh, where is the evidence? Because each time the evidence comes, it's ridiculed, it's debunked by the so-called experts that are part of the cover-up.
Part of the cover-up, right.
So that's why, you wonder where the bodies are. But I can tell you, there's people like me who have hair samples, but I'm not sending them to the lab. I'll use them in my ceremonies. I'll share them with my tribe, with native elders who respect it, who they honor this medicine. It's not like, oh, we want to dissect and prove or disprove most often that it's not what you say. So it comes to a level where we don't care about proving anything anymore.
Yes.
So it's not like, they gave me a recording in August that I posted, and it's like it took me over a month to say, should I post it or not? But it's as usual. It's when you have photos or videos or everything, and even DNA sample or even footprints. People will say, there's people who will say, wow, it's fantastic. And there's people who will say, it's nothing at all. So why would we try to keep proving to deny science in denial, or even people without even any scientific knowledge who deny simply out of belief? The purpose is rather more than to share what we learn and the truth we learn with the people who are interested and open to hear it. And for those who think we're a handful of wolves who make this up, I can tell you that these stories, as documented in my last book, among other places, have been passed on for thousands of years. There's all the ancient tribes around the world have stories of the Hairy Humanoids. And at this moment, I have talked with over 300 people who have had Sasquatch encounter of some kind. So, and all people who didn't know each other before, who come from different backgrounds, and we come and we have these similar experiences and understanding, and we confirm each other's experiences. So that's a lot of circumstantial or anecdotal evidence, however you want to call it, to have it considered a serious topic. Now, people who don't believe Sasquatch could exist or does, it's pretty much hard to go any deeper in the topic. It's like there's about 1/3, more or less, of the people who believe Sasquatch exists. Just about the same for like UFOs and
Right,
ETs.
right. Yeah, I mean, you quoted some figures from Free Organization and different facts and figures, so you have the backup for everything that you say, and about the cryptozoologist versus the paleoanthropologist, and this whole big kind of a super fight within the search itself. And I found it interesting that all of the men that were going after to like kill a Sasquatch for fame and fortune, I just found that so disgusting and demoralizing. But it was interesting to read all the stories of that, because I just wasn't aware of that at all.
Yeah, well, the most common reaction we see human towards Sasquatch is basically try to kill them. Well, it is fear, fear and misunderstanding. You see all those videos. I don't want to name any big blog but you see all those reports of terrifying encounter that monster terrorized the family and everything. And you look at the story, and basically it was just walking by or standing there looking at them, and they freak out, they go in a panic mode, and they victimize themselves without any reason most of the time. So that's good for to do some big horror movie for the box office and for festivals, that bring it's popular. It's a horror genre that people go for, and it's good for their business. But it's nothing true at all. It's nothing. It's a made-up scenario to cover the truth about the Sasquatch.
So you talk about in your book about fakes and hoaxes and cover-ups of all of this to just totally destroy the whole phenomena, either based on fear or people think you're crazy if you talk about it. So it's control, right? It's all about control.
Yeah. Well, you see many of the reports when they see or a Sasquatch or they will put up a hunting party to go after them, try to catch them. Since that's like since centuries. But to bring the cover-up issue is, if people say, those beings don't exist, why then all the major powers of the world, Russia, United States, UK, China, others like Japan and Switzerland, and so on, invested in highly equipped, costly expeditions to hunt the Yeti or the Sasquatch or the Yaran in China. So why would they do that if they wouldn't believe in it? They wouldn't go after a ghost, a religion. They had enough evidence, and they all conclude in the same way. There's enough evidence to say that there's a possible being out there that we can't identify yet. But they're never gonna say we killed a few, we got their footprints and DNA and all that. But there are serious reasons to think they had, because guys like some of those top guys, they had samples tested. Like Peter Byrne, for instance. The U.S. Yeti expeditions in the Himalaya lasted for like almost 4 years. The Nepalese government passed a law to forbid killing a Yeti while they were there. So what, why would a government go all this way to pass a law to protect something that doesn't exist?
Right. It's pretty wild, and I like the reading where they come with guns, they're aggressive, they have shot at the Sasquatch, but it's very rare that a Sasquatch will harm a human, right? It's just not in their nature unless they've been totally provoked, but it's rare. It's not like, they're going to come after you and get you,
Definitely, yeah. There's much more scare than harm. Like I said, a lot of the scare stories are fiction that go around like official reports, but if you do a search, you find out has no foundation at all. Others are highly exaggerated. Like, the Sasquatch put his arm in the window and they shot at him, and then they turn into the Boogie Creek monster. And they have several versions of that horror movie plus a festival going on. So it's a big money making business, but it's not the truth.
Right.
The truth is that those beings are very ancient, very wise, very highly psychic, highly spiritually evolved and conscious. And they have a lot to teach us. And they won't teach us if we go after them with guns or even with TV shows and cameras. They will teach us when they see our heart is ready, that we have a pure intention. We're not in there for fame or money or trying to get a trophy or trying to get a photo even. We're there to learn, to know who are these elder relatives, and how significant their existence is for us, younger brothers, because they've been watching over this planet very well for much longer than we have, and we've done a very bad job in a short time. So we can use all their help, and as well with our connection with the star beings. That's why I say, there's a proportion of people who, maybe 1/3 who believe Sasquatch might exist, and then many people think they're an animal. Then you take those out. There's people think there are maybe some kind of intelligent people, but they might not be psychic. And then there's people who say, well, maybe they are psychic, but they don't have supernatural powers, and they don't communicate with alien or extraterrestrial species, because each step is a deeper looking into a higher understanding of who they are.
Right, an expansion of that.
Yeah. So if people, first they don't believe in Sasquatch, well, that's it for them. It's not in their reality. If other people think it's an animal, a big ape, well, they keep looking for tracks after 70 years. People think they're intelligent people. Well, maybe they have some gifting. They find structures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But when you go to the level where there are spiritual allies and guides and teachers, well, the connection is always available. Basically, they can be with you everywhere, anytime.
Yeah, we spent the first part of the show kind of putting out everything on the table, all the fears, all the crap, okay, all the fake, the hoaxes, all that. And so it's good to put it out there. And then our next half, I would really like to start to talk about our interspecies relationships with them and how we can start that. I do have a question from someone, which is a simple question, but maybe a good one. It probably is a good one. It's why the Sasquatch? You call them Yeti. They have all these different names. Why do they like being called Sasquatch? Is that the name they prefer, or do they have a preferred name, or do they each have different names depending on where they are in the world? Because this is a global phenomenon and a cosmic phenomenon.
Yeah. The word Sasquatch comes from the Halcomelon dialect of the Salish or Salish, Coast Salish language that are based in Chehalis, and they're the ones who started to do the Sasquatch Days in 1938 under the name Sasquatch Days. Mm-hmm. So the name is more or less like Sasquatch, but was popularized by John Burns, was an Indian agent there, and who kind of organized the first Sasquatch Days, 1938, and he wrote the first article using the name Sasquatch that became popular in the 1930s. The word Bigfoot, for instance, came out pretty much in 1958. It was known before, but it was not used as widely as after 1958, the tracks they found in Bluff Creek, California. But the name Sasquatch came out at the same time, pretty much, or that the name Yeti was being popularized through expeditions in the Himalayas. So Sasquatch basically means wild people, and that's a name I like to use because, well, I've been to Chalice several times. I've had encounters there, more than one, significant ones, and also, it's a native name. So I like to honor the name Sasquatch, but they have a variety of other names. Every tribe has different names. We could go on for hour listing them, but there's many different names. They are known by different parts.
So we have some gratitude for our native elders for keeping the Sasquatch alive. Their relationship, they've always had that, and so we're much gratitude to them for honoring the Sasquatch and keeping that safe, shall we say?
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have. That's why those cultures, native cultures in general, but mostly up north and in the northwest, probably because it's been less time of colonization. But they have kept very surprising knowledge and connection with the Sasquatch. I found out firsthand when I after my first major conversation in 2015, in May, I went to the Slatlium Reservation, another Salish tribe, and there was the International Indigenous Leadership Gathering with elders from all over. And I was just thinking I couldn't speak about Sasquatch to anyone, but actually, people there had stories, had knowledge about it, and when I mentioned I had an encounter, they were all interested and happy to hear what I had to say.
So you're put on the spot, and you just show up and you give it your best, and you speak from your heart. What more can you do, right?
Yeah. So that was a very, very strong, I would say, confirmation that this knowledge is ancient, it's alive. It's somewhat secret because you can't go out on the roof and scream, "I got a Sasquatch in my backyard." because of the other guys, who carry guns and stuff. But I've met several native elders who fantastic. They have fantastic stories, if not first hand, second hand. There's one I think it's worth mentioning. Last year, I went to a sweat lodge on the coast of BC, just north of Vancouver, at the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, and I had my pipe out and everything, and then we started randomly. The chief's wife started randomly to talk about Sasquatch and to say they hear them a lot and they hear them knock and call, and a friend has sees their babies in their backyard and stories like that, and I was all excited and said, "Wow, well, I communicate with the Sasquatch and I read books, and so where the conversation went on. Then they asked the presiding elder, the grandfather, who was sitting there. It was the family of Chief Dan George, famous Hollywood actor and spiritual leader too. And he said, well, the Sasquatch, they asked him, what do you know about Sasquatch? They didn't even know in his own family. So I had the honor to be there to hear it. He said, the Sasquatch, I feed them all the time. They let you see them only if they choose. They can disappear, turn into trees or a rock or an animal. He said their babies play with the little people. And he told us they're smarter than us. They can drive spaceships.
I love that.
And he told us a story that when he was young, he's now probably in his 90s. When he was young, his uncle was hunting on a mountain, and he saw a spaceship land. And he saw 4 tall white beings coming out of the spaceship carrying a 6 Sasquatch. And they left him in a cave and left. And his uncle went and saw the Sasquatch was sick, so he brought him water and food and medicine for a couple of days. And the Sasquatch thanked him and said, well, I'm going to be your helper.
Okay, Barbara, I'm going to go ahead and try and run the break.
Okay.
Take me just a second to get it set up.
Okay. So if you can hold that thought, and we'll be right back after break. And we're interviewing SunBow, and when we get back after the break, we'll be talking about how to begin a relationship yourself with Sasquatch. Thank you so much, SunBow.
All right.
It'll be about a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Okay, I guess.
All of this coming to try to stop. We talked about JFK too, and they killed Drinker. The banking institution is more dangerous than all he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution. The American dream is just that. War is a continuation of politics. Only by the means. Politics is a continuation of economics by the means. This is our bank. This is our war. At the time. Justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle will continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
On the go? Still want to listen? Don't have one of those fancy phones with too many buttons. Don't know what an app is? Or you don't even care? Well, we got you here at Revolution Radio. Now you can dial in 24/7 to listen to our shows. We have a number for Studio A and Studio B, and best of all, it's free. Don't forget, carrier charges for your cell phone provider. That's how I know, so check with your cell phone provider to make sure. So ready? Here you go. Get it down. Here's the number. Studio A is 712-432-6958. Studio B is 716-748-0112. Thank you very much for listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station in the world. Radio station. Its programs and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. Welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We are just so excited that you're here, and we have with us this evening, we have SunBow as our guest. And I didn't give him a proper introduction at the beginning, so I would like to tell you a little bit about SunBow. He has, in the last 4 decades, received and shared shamanic teachings and practices learned with several elders from dozens of indigenous nations met along journeys in 20 countries. Through those years of training, he has developed some gifts for psychic communication with the spirit world and with other species, including non-human intelligent humanoids. He has transmitted what he has learned from studies and direct experience through various circles and events, gatherings, conferences, workshops, ceremonies, many of which he co-organized, as well as through books, articles, videos, websites, social medias, and interviews. 5 years ago, SunBow started having regular encounters and communication with the Sasquatch people, who asked him to channel their words in the Sasquatch Message to Humanity book series. And we have had SunBow on before, and we talked about Sasquatch Message to Humanity, that book series that's still available on Amazon. You can go to Amazon.com, the Sasquatch Message to Humanity. You can also, his latest book, Hairy Humanoids from the Wild, Encyclopedia of All Things Sasquatch by SunBow, True Brother, is in paperback on Lulu. and that's the best way for them to get a hold of that particular book. I got mine on Amazon too. But the best way is through Lulu. Is that correct, SunBow?
Yeah. I was hearing a big feedback, but can you hear me?
Yes, I
now?
can hear fine. No feedback on my end.
Okay. The last book is Hairy Humanoids from the Wild, Encyclopedia of all things Sasquatch. It's available as well on Amazon and all the affiliated distributors, regular ones. But Lulu is Lulu.com is the largest site for independent authors, so they're a little more generous for the authors. So I suggest people, if they can get it from Lulu, it's better for us. Otherwise, they can get it for Amazon, it's better for Amazon.
and I love the size of the book too, because it's kind of a Sasquatch size, right? And it has a bigger print, and it's filled with beautiful, beautiful photos. I just 10 artists, 10 fantastic artists contributed their artwork. There's 100 illustrations altogether, 364 pages, so this is pretty much covering every aspect of the phenomenon that is available to any large public, anyone interested to learn from A to Z what we know about Sasquatch through generations and years of research and experience. It's pretty amazing. I've been reading it for the last 2 days, and it's just like I got in a boat and went to another world and came back again, in a way. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's like I kind of feel like I'm getting it more now after reading the book, because I just didn't know how much had, number one, the history blew me away of how much history there was. That I think most of our listeners, if you're not into this yet and you're just beginning, there's so much history that we haven't been able to hear or understand, that's been taken from us. So it's like they've taken our history of the Sasquatch away from us, and we're getting it back now through your books and through the conferences and through art and through storytelling. They haven't, through the indigenous storytelling, that they didn't let go of our relationship with the Sasquatch. Has been here all along. It's never gone anywhere. And so from what I'm understanding is the time now to bump this up. Is things are happening. It's because of our earth is in dire straits or dire needs, that there are our friends, the Sasquatch families, coming to aid us. They haven't given up hope on us, yet.
Yeah, definitely. We are at this point of our collective destiny as humanity, which is critical. I mean, there's everybody is seeing it, or maybe there's also some kind of hype and misleading that is part of it. But as far as an environmental balance, we messed up pretty bad, and the ecosystems are collapsing, and there is definitely a serious question about, how long can we still survive anyway this way?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that, it's been talked now openly in the public place, which wasn't when we started doing it 30, 40 years ago, but that we cannot live without the environment.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot have an economy. We cannot have a life, basically. So where do we start? Well, there are all those human tribes that have kept some knowledge and some experience on how to live with the environment that have been and still are being pushed aside too often and not heard in public debates. But if we would have listened to them, we would be in a much better situation.
Right. And
But
they
yeah, then the Sasquatch are the elders of us all, even of the most ancient human cultures. So they have been the best caretakers of this planet, and so we have a lot to learn about them.
we do.
From them.
And in your book, you talk about the ways that they tried to communicate with us all along through like the glyphs and through their beautiful art. Some of the structures that they leave in the forest, and they've been there all along, but we just weren't aware of it. They were trying, right? Or throwing stone or pine cones or ways of communicating. And Mother Willow asked if you could speak about their humor.
About what, sorry?
Sasquatch humor.
Oh, yeah. Well, humor is a sign of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And since they have that faculty very strong, they can surprise us in all kind of ways. And what I can say about it is that it's rarely random unless it's a young who's trying to play a trick or something. Usually, it's there's a teaching coming with a joke. If you think about it twice, there's a double meaning, or there's something deeper into it. For instance, to teach us to let go or not worry about losing things, or all kind of different messages. They can use humor very often to teach us.
Mm-hmm. And then to laugh at ourselves, right? We were talking about that yesterday, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of anecdotes I could say, that, well, one nice one is when I borrowed a friend's car to go to a barter fair, and on the way back, I had two sets of keys, the main one and the double. And I always only use the main one. And we drove a couple hours through the mountains with curves and hills, and we stopped. And I looked, and it's the double that's on the contact. I say, well, that's not possible. I never took out the double, so where's the main one? So I'm starting to kind of freak out. Oh no, don't tell me. I look around the car, I look inside, I look around. It's sitting on the trunk. So, that's totally impossible with a lot of physics,
So you gotta laugh, right?
Yeah, so then you gotta laugh. It's kind of, they test you to see how you're gonna react to some action or things like that. That's one among many things that it will do to let us understand a lesson.
And let's say if you're just starting out and you want to get, this makes sense. There's something about it that maybe you have a desire for learning more about the Sasquatch. In your book, it talks about making, there was a word for it, not offerings, but gifting. And I like that. Could you speak a little bit about gifting to the Sasquatch and as a beginning of interspecies communication? Yeah.
Well, it's a very ancient tradition practiced by many tribes around the world to honor and acknowledge the beings, the spirits, the forest beings, out there. So when they go out there to a mountain or a forest or a riverside or something, it's a natural, instinct to want to give thanks, be grateful, and offer a little something. There's gifting with the Sasquatch has been practiced by tribes, but it's one among many, different gifting you can give to animals, for instance, or to ancestors. But the Sasquatch, what is special with that, if you consciously engage in gifting with them, is that, and they do also, because it has to be both ways, well, they might bring some gift back. Sometimes things, the most unlikely things at the most unlikely places, or can be like, you know, a stick arrangement, or tree structure, or whatever, footprint, everything they, or hair, or everything they feel like you would like, because gifting is all about making friends. I don't call it habituation, because, well, some people do, but when you practice habituation, you're kind of trying to tame or half domesticate some animal, bring, you know, lure them with baits in a restricted control area, which is not the purpose with Sasquatch. It's more like maybe there's areas or sites we know we can connect with them and go and give a little offering. It could be anything from, you know, good natural food, like a fruit or something, to stones, feathers, craft. Some of your hair, if you even have nothing, a piece of dirt or tobacco or any sacred herb you want to use to offer. And what is the most important is the intention you put in it. Because if you just drop it out there and see what happens, well, maybe nothing's going to happen. But if you have put intention, that's how they see you. They see who you are, and they feel, they hear your heart, and they say, well, maybe this person wants to communicate with us. And they start very often, because I've had probably hundreds by now of people who told me their encounters. And there's very often they will start gently. They will start, for example, in a dream, or in a meditation, you have their image coming, or in telepathy, you hear something, someone talking to you. It will start in those ways because it's much more gentler and easier for us to get used to their presence. Their energies are really intense. And most witnesses, the great majority of witnesses without a sighting, will describe this kind of hypnosis. They're like you freeze, you kind of you're stunned. Some people even get PTSD from a sighting if they don't understand and they don't make peace with the experience, or they try to deny it, which is often the case. There's many more encounters than reported. There's at least, I would say, 10 times more, or if not more. Right. Because people, first of all, most people won't talk about it. Some people will just try to deny or forget it or explain it away. Others will know what they saw, but they won't talk for fear of ridicule or not being believed. Maybe they'll talk to a couple friends or something. And then people who have experience don't always feel to go out and report, find who, first of all, who to report to, because some researchers are very narrow-minded. And, you know, can you find any kind of advice or help? And that's what we've been doing. That's what they asked me to do since I work with them, is to also help experiencers to through their process that we all go through. You know, you see a UFO, you see a Sasquatch, or you have these encounters. You say, wow, nobody's gonna believe me. So what do I do with this? You have first to accept it, stop denying it, drop the fear. If you're in fear, it's going to be terrifying, and you will want to run away of your life. If you accept that, there are those beings. So far, they haven't hurt me. They haven't hurt anyone I know that communicates with them. On quite the opposite, they are actually really great helpers and teachers. So how can we get there with them? It's a process, it's progressive, but we have to have first the right attitude. That's why if you go talk to native elders and shamans, they have their Sasquatch stories that they won't tell you unless you ask. But those guys who search with guns or night vision and drones and all that stuff, they search for 50, 70 years, but they might find a few tracks and they say, oh, we know they're out there, but we've never seen one. Because you don't have the right attitude. If you go after them, after anyone, as a matter of fact, with trying to stalk them and trying to trap them and all that, they don't want to have anything to do with you. The way to have contacts is to have a good intention, come with love, with peace in your heart, with respect. You want to show that you go to their territory, so you first ask permission and give thanks for being allowed in their home. And then you can leave an offering to say, well, as a sign of respect, and talk to them. Talk to them in your heart, in your soul, and tell them, well, your intention, why you want to connect. Is it just for curiosity, or is it because you feel they can teach us spiritually important things? And I can testify that with these simple techniques I just explained, well, there are more, but that's the main guidelines. I have assisted dozens of people so far to have their first encounters. Because it's just a matter of being aware, acknowledging, we have these relatives out there. They've been there all along. We just didn't know or didn't care or didn't realize. And now we can just say, hey, hi, brothers and sisters. We acknowledge you. And that's the same way telepathy is basically, it's a bit like prayer. It's you express your intention. It doesn't have to be in words. It can be in feelings. It's the universal language, and I always tell people practice with the animals because they're telepathic 100%, especially evolved animals, but even insect, everyone. You said, everybody has a bird or a cat around their place, so you can practice every day with your pet or with the crow flying or the pigeon and say, oh, I relative, greetings, I honor you, I send you my blessings for you and your descent, may you thrive and be happy, like you would do to any being you love, including our human relatives. So when we send these intentions, you see, with practice, maybe it comes stronger, but you see there's a reaction, often in real time, that this conscious being is carrying a part of the universal, divine, cosmic consciousness, and that body is hearing you, this divine in you. And that's where the connection must happen to be peaceful and true on a spiritual level.
So it's like a spark, spirit to spirit, like a connection spark. No, and you're not going to get that in the mind, right? You're going to get that in the heart.
Yeah, exactly. The mind is a channel too. It can express intention, for instance, but it has to be the intention of the heart. It's like, because the heart has a network of neurons. It does process information. We talk about the intelligence of the heart. It's a real phenomenon. The heart has 4 times more magnetism than the brain. So all these things, these electromagnetic waves we emanate and everything, are felt by all other living beings around, including invisible life forms.
Yeah. Oh, I love the invisible ones. That's for my. I'm into the where that they because I've been in this for a while too. So we have all kinds of different kinds of listeners here today. Some of us old timers have been in this for a while, and I love the idea of them being commanders on ships. Can you talk about that? And then we have a question from Rose after that question.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, there are many stories of the Sasquatch being related to the star beings, and even piloting some spaceships. What I've learned with them, because I have to say, I've had a lot of UFO and extraterrestrial encounters as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had, which started about almost 40 years ago as well, around the same time with the Sasquatch. More frequent with the star beings in the previous years, but now more and more frequent. To say that, I mean, it's for me, and I think for everyone, as far as I know, it's a long process to develop this interspecies communication with them. First, we have to get used to their presence, have no fear, and get used to communicate, to listen, to be a good channel and pick up the information they send. So what they told me is that, and they've showed me also many times, that the Sasquatch are part of the Council of Star Elders. There is a great, we could say, intergalactic or cosmic council that is watching over the worlds. And the Sasquatch, there are some of their elders, at least, sit among them and watch over the worlds too.
Mm-hmm.
So they have direct contact with these star elders that some are relatives and even ancestors.
I love that. Wow.
So they've shown me a few times in dreams, visions, as well as in real life, that they often come by or with spaceships, and many other people can have seen those things too.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Our next question is from Rose SP, and she says, many hear an extremely loud knock or tree knocks with no apparent origin. Can you speak to that? Why might they use this technique to communicate?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a matter of language. I would say an energetic signature, because the first close conversation I had with Camus on Vancouver Island that's how he manifested. And the first thing I heard, a super loud bang, tree being knocked on another tree or something. And wow, that got my attention right away. I say, what is that? And then I heard another one closer, and I said, oh, it's coming this way. Then I heard trees being shaken and broken, two, one after the other. So right then, I said, well, that's a Sasquatch. There's nothing else that can do this. The next day, I was curious. I went around, never saw any broken trees or anything like that. I might have missed them, but there's a lot of other reports like that. People have heard someone who heard a tree fall next to her tent one night, and there was no tree the next morning, and different stories like that. So I think what others have proposed as well is that they can project sound. Just like they can project images, actually. They can, it's some kind of a gift they have to ventriloquism, maybe, to imitate sounds, could be an animal as well, and make it heard far away, like if it was in a remotely emitted, in a remote location. The thing about 3 knocks and 3 branches breaking, snapping, and this is often reported because usually when you hear that, you start thinking really quick that it must be a Sasquatch. I mean, you might hear a bear breaking branches, not knocking on trees, not shaking trees. So I think that's one of their way to identify themselves, to say, it's me, I'm a Sasquatch. So you know right away who's coming.
Like their calling card, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's switch to the last part of your book. I love this part, and it's where it's actually the last chapter, and it's where you let me find it here. It's where you talk about the message from the Sasquatch itself to, why does all this matter? Why does all this matter to us Sasquatch? Why go through all this? Why the message from Sasquatch? And could you speak about, why they come together and as a collective and share their Sasquatch spirit from the council of our elders through this channel we selected and have been using to transmit our messages?
Sure. Well, as you know, for the audience, I'll mention it. There's the first thing I ever wrote about Sasquatch was the Sasquatch Message to Humanity, which started as posts online on my Facebook group, then were turned into a book, and then a book series with 3 titles. So these books are channeled messages. I never really wrote any other channel material. I had to do it with them. When I was channeling those books, they were really present and manifesting almost ongoing around me to let me know we're in this together and it's happening for real. And the results from that book series have been pretty amazing, with still growing international audience and events related to this disclosure. And also websites and things to gather the knowledge and the truth we know about Sasquatch, mostly through experiences, the first-hand knowledge. So your question, in my last book, they told me, well, like if you talk about Sasquatch, you lose 2/3 of the population, and then you talk about intelligent psychic beings, you're down to 5% of the population, maybe. And you say that you channel them, well, then you're down to the,
Yeah, but it's still got to be done, though, right? We still got to shake things up because, that's the only way we're going to get from here to there.
Yeah. Well, usually the people who receive the best, this kind of information, are usually, channels or shamans who have their own experiences. Oh, me too. So we're not alone in our boat. But so in that last book, they told me, okay, but write something for a wider public, because some people will never read a channel message. But they might be interested in Sasquatch and to know the real story. So they asked me to write this big encyclopedia to straighten the facts, undo the myths, undo the lies, expose the cover-up and the covered hunts and genocide, and to bring people through the understanding that the real science teaches us that there's no ape out there, but there's a very advanced psychic interdimensional being.
Right.
And that's what science and discovery and all the evidence teach us. So once we've gone through our initial cultural shock, from the paradigm we've been brought in, that we are also interdimensional beings. We live in a multi-dimensional universe, and this physical world is no more than barely 4% of the energy we know. So yeah, there's much more than what we've been told. So in this, their message, I mean, they've talked through different channels and they've said different things, but it often comes down to being good caretakers and awakening our consciousness to the multidimensionality of existence, to get out of their whole paradigm, their whole situation that we're caught in with very low dense technology like explosion engine and fossil fuels and nuclear and all those things. We need to evolve into the multidimensional understanding that, quantum physics and all those things are getting there. But to understand that, because we'll never become star beings or travel the stars if we stay in our materialistic paradigm as mainstream society is now. So that's what basically the main, I would say, emphasis of their message is we have to awaken our consciousness, remember the spiritual and all the different dimensional aspects of our beings, to be able to come back to balance with this planet as well as with our star family, the starlers and the cosmic council.
And with the communicating with that too, they use the glyphs as a way of communicating, but also the glyphs can be more than just the alphabet. I love hearing that and reading about that in your book, about that they're actually called stick sisters, stick brothers.
Some tribe call them the Stick Indian in Washington.
Yeah, and I didn't know about that at all. And I was with Brian Bland, and we were talking, and the Sasquatch came right into the room, and that's what they called me, I'm the stick sister. And I never knew, it didn't make sense to me at all until I read your book, that they have a name for that. And I feel that people that start having, like you're talking about, having these experiences, it's like they're building it, right? They're kind of building it for you in a very loving, kind way, instead of blowing your mind all at once.
Yeah, well, I have to say, and I repeat it often, is that it took me 33 years before my first encounter, and the time I was ready to sit with them and communicate. Mm-hmm. And it still wasn't overnight. It was a long training, mm-hmm. shamanic training, learning to deal with spiritual matters, spiritual world, and all kind of knowledge needed for interspecies communication. When it started, it took a whole year of having one come around where I was living, walk on the roof. I saw him face to face, 6 feet from me across the window. Before I was kind of ready to even accept that was happening, because it's so unusual that you think, there's often this fear of reject, like nobody will believe me, so what's the use?
Right. So we get past.
But when it keeps happening, you say, well, there's something there. I have the choice maybe to stop it or to learn and go this way. And when I was ready, they started talking to me, and they keep coming just about everywhere I go. They manifest somehow.
Yeah, you got Squatch on the brain, right? Where you see it in clouds and on trees and, in mud puddles and,
Or you hear them, or you find, I found like 3 samples of air this summer.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, they because we keep working together. It's like a friendship that is developing, and I do things they ask me, and they like, and they help me to do it, and then they help me in what I have to do.
Yeah. When I was at the Psychic Sasquatch spiritual retreat, there was a time where I just needed to be alone, and so I went off into the woods by myself, just for a minute, and I'm walking, and I'm not paying attention, and I see my very first glyph. I've never seen one, and it was like it was surreal. It was like it wasn't really happening though, and I didn't really get it until after. I'm back, and then a couple days later, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I really did see one. I really did. There was really a hello with it. There was some energy behind it. There was, and it was, and I thought I was prepared for it, but, it was still beautifully surprising.
Yeah, well, a lot of experiencers, when you start paying attention and realizing what you see, what you encounter, a lot of experiencers start having memories, flashbacks. Oh, I saw structure before, and I heard something, but the rational mind brushed it aside, and because they've always been there.
It's true. It's so true, because what happened, it did trigger, because I had been at Alien Con, just walking outside of Alien Con, walking down the street by myself, huge cracked branch dropped right in front of me, like 3 feet in front of me, huge branch, no reason, no anything. And I, now looking back, and the people around me just stopped and were in shock. And I think it was the Sasquatch that had done that, to just kind of looking back now, saying hello, because I had started reading and learning about it and interested in it and all that sort of thing.
Well, I noticed that in my case, and in several other people that I've met or even assisted, that when it's really up to us, when some people might say, okay, but there's Sasquatch out there, I don't care. Okay, so it's your choice. When you start thinking, oh, I'm interested about these relatives, and I want to learn, or same with the star beings, same thing. They hear you, and they start to come and check and see if your heart is ready, if your intention is pure, and they will, just like with animals. Like that's what I say. If you don't have a Sasquatch in your neighborhood, try with the animals, because I've seen many times, other people can testify that animals come down from the mountain to visit me because I honor them. Simply, I love them. So when they come, I greet them, I bless them, even before they come. So the Sasquatch is the same. We have here, for instance, we have a lot of UFO starships, and because it's a hot region, it's a hot spot, but we've been communicating with them, greeting them, and they often just come at the right second. When you look up, you see a flash, or you see, just like with the animals, I go out at night, there's a wolf in front of the door waiting for me, things like that. It's a matter of sending this ripple of love and this intention of wanting to connect. And that they will hear. If we do that without expectation, but just with, like, hey guys, I love you, and if you come around, let me know, something like that, and it works. eventually, a lot of people will tell you they start having dreams or hearing something or finding things, and it's a good thing. It's gradual because if you would have a Sasquatch in your backyard the first day, it's enough for a heart attack.
It's true. It's really true. And you think you're prepared. At least I thought I was, and I really actually wasn't. But I got through it okay, But it was, and I know nothing. I'm a baby in all of this too. So it was just it changed something in me though, where you add it to wow. And just by talking with other people, like with you and other people about your experiences, that, there's a lot of us having the experiences, and now's the time to talk about it. And like you're saying, the message from Sasquatch to humanity is the love part, and that we're going to really need them, right? Because they know how to survive. Could you maybe end our show with, they're our best hope, to get through the changes.
Yeah, that's why they're reaching out now, and this is pretty easy to verify, because I can say for me, 5 years ago I started writing these books, and from my experiences, and at first I didn't know anybody, or maybe I had met 2 people in my life who had a Sasquatch encounter before. But then I started meeting dozens and dozens and hundreds, and we have communities, the ancestral group on Facebook, for instance, or website, or events. The other thing is, in the mainstream Bigfoot movement, there's a huge shift happening. You see people who would never have thought so a couple of years ago, that now they realize that Sasquatch is a interdimensional being, at least a psychic, and they come up with movies like Supernatural Bigfoot and stuff like that. Just recently, because there's a shift. People are tired of the ape hunters because they don't bring anything new, and not even anything true. But on the other hand, there's all those experiencers who have ongoing contacts, or at least have had contacts, through spiritual approach and a peaceful and loving approach. So it's up to us. Do we just want to keep hunting, or do we just want to make friends and learn with those other relatives?
Well, it's up to us, and we have a choice because it's being made available to us. And thank you for being on our show today and sharing your experiences and your wisdom, and helping us look at a future with Sasquatch as not only a neighbor, but actually where we can cohabitate together in a much closer way.
Yeah, well, that's why they, from passing on what they have been teaching me, they asked me to move one step further and to help everyone, every experiencer or sincere seekers, to be able to express themselves, because that helps a lot to assimilate the experience. So I started that network under their guidance, which is my website, scenicsasquatch.com, and Scenic stands for Sasquatch Close Encounter Network for Interspecies Communication. We promote the peaceful spiritual approach for people to reconcile themselves with the Sasquatch, to drop the fear, and to rehabilitate those relatives in our collective consciousness as at least friends and teachers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and so go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's the one of the greatest thing I think we can do for them is to help disclose the knowledge to share this because if it was one man's story, well, okay, but there's many of us, and we're all learning in this process, and it's happening fast. It's happening actually exponentially fast. That more and more people start having those, and especially because the disclosure of information helps many to understand.
It's important work. Thank you for everything that you've been doing and will continue to do in the future. Thank you for coming on the show, SunBow, and everyone, please check out ScenicSasquatch.com. Write to SunBow. Buy his book. It's an amazing book. It really, truly is. I really enjoyed it and learned so much. And go out and tell your stories, right? Go out and have some experiences. Get off the couch. Get off the Facebook and go have some experiences so you can tell your Sasquatch stories and keep this movement alive. So thank everyone for tuning in, and they can reach you at ScenicSasquatch.com. And is there another place that they should reach you or look out for, or do you have an event coming up that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, well, we just had the 4th annual Sasquatch conference in Chihuahua where we met. Actually.
Yes.
We have a 3rd one in BC coming on November 2nd.
Cool.
We'll have 6 presenters, and it's the Crescent Valley Hall in Crescent Valley, BC, and apart from that, we have Facebook groups and pages. They're mostly all listed on the homepage of my website, Scenic. But you can also see the links to get my books there. I also have a page on Scenic page on Facebook, Sasquatch Message to Humanity page.
Wonderful.
And SunBow True Brother, my author's name page, as well as the Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat. So
Wonderful.
People can check all those names and find us.
Well, thank you again so much. Thank you to all the listeners. We'll call this a show. Thanks for tuning in to the Cosmic Oracle Show. I'm your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, our guest, SunBow, and we will see you next week. We have the Chinos with us next week. Tammy and Anthony Chino, you will be blown away next week as well. So the adventure continues. Thank you, everyone. Good night, and we'll see you on the other side. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, you'll have to put up with a little dead air, and then True Ot will be up with his show. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Thomas.